There's a perception that the United States and Russia are separated by a few thousand kilometers. In fact, they are much closer to each other than one might think. In the middle of the Bering Strait are the islands of Diomid and Russia's Ratmanov. Its sister island of Kruzenshtern belongs to the Americans. The distance between them is only about 4 kilometers. Today, you will learn why it takes a whole day to cross them, what the ice curtain is, and how the locals live in a changing climate. Eskimos began settling in the Diomid Islands more than 3,000 years ago. The honor of discovering these places for the inhabitants of the Old World belongs to the renowned Russian traveler Semyon Diomid. In 1648, he discovered the strait between Asia and America, later to be named after Bering. Diomid also reported on 2 islands, one of which was found in 1728 by the expedition of Vitus Bering. Both were inscribed on maps a little later in 1732. In 1867, Alexander II sold Alaska to the Americans because he thought the land was useless and it required a lot of money to maintain it. For comparison, a single 3-story building in the center of New York, built in 1872, cost the Treasury of the state of New York almost twice as much as the whole of Alaska to the US government. At the same time, the area of Alaska is slightly smaller than the area of Libya, which is the 16th largest country in the world. After the sale of Alaska, the state border was established between the islands of Diomid, but at first these changes did not bother the locals much. The inhabitants of the Bering Strait region always considered themselves one group. Up until 1948, families living on different islands visited each other without any problems. After World War II, relations between the USSR and the USA deteriorated and the border was closed. As often happens in such cases, ordinary people suffered greatly because of politics. The military settled on Ratmanov Island and the civilians had to move to Siberia, while the civilian population of Ratmanov Island was not allowed to visit each other. Of course, no one in power cared about their approval. Eventually, the border was nicknamed the Ice Curtain, similar to the Iron Curtain, a term made popular by Churchill and which marked the start of the Cold War. But as the years passed and the so-called Ice Curtain gradually began to melt, on 7 August 1987, the American swimmer Lynn Cox, who had previously managed to cross the Strait of La Mancha and round Cape of Hope, crossed the distance from a US island to a Russian island. She made it in 2 hours and was congratulated by the 2 presidents, Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. The ice curtain didn't finally fall until 2015, when the United States complied with all the formalities. Under this agreement, Alaska natives could visit relatives in the Chukotka and vice versa. In order to travel, they had to receive an invitation. It was allowed to stay for no more than 90 days. It is hard to say what the situation is in 2021, as there is no mention of this in the media. As mentioned before, the islands of Diomid are separated by a truly ridiculous distance of about 3,750 meters. But if you want to feel like a time traveler, then overcoming them is a great way to do it. The fact is that the islands are separated by an international date line and are in different time zones. The time difference is 21 hours, and Russia is ahead of the Americans. That is why Ratmanov Island is sometimes called the Island of Tomorrow and Kruzenshtern Island is called Yesterday. These curious facts became widely known to foreign viewers in March 2021 when the TikTok blogger under the nickname Lob Andu posted a video in which he explains how to get from Russia to the US by foot. However, here he lied a little, and because of climate change, there is no strong ice between the islands as before. The publication went viral and gathered millions of views, after which many media wrote about it. It was a real discovery for Americans. The unusual feature of the islands gives room for imagination. For example, you can celebrate your birthday twice a year, or first celebrate the new year on Ratmanov Island and then return in time and celebrate again on the island of Kruzenshtern. Between them. The only thing is that moving between them is not so easy. There is no permanent population on Ratmanov Island now, only the military. The first detachment of frontier guards came here in 1941. A 6-room wooden house and a bathhouse for them were brought here by steamer from Vladivostok, together with food, clothes, and weapons. Life in this region is harsh, with winters lasting 9 months. Not only do they have to endure extremely low temperatures, but also the strongest winds. There are also 300 days a year of thick fog enveloping the island, making helicopters a rare guest and only coming once every 2 or 4 months to deliver food and mail. Only contractors serve in the unit, and they have the basic amenities of civilization. There are no military personnel on Kruzenshtern Island, or as it is called by Americans, Small Diomid Island. There is only one settlement, also called Diomid. When you see this settlement from above, it feels like one of the most isolated places on the planet. It has a modest-sized Eskimo community of a little over 100 people. Today, the island has about 30 buildings, including apartment buildings mostly built in the 1970s and 1980s. But despite its modest appearance, the settlement has a laundry room, a medical office located on the top floor of the same building. There is also a school from which a classroom overlooks the Russian island, a library, a helipad, and a satellite for television, phone, fax, and internet access. The stock of shops on the island is limited to a small amount of food, drinks, clothing, firearms, ammunition, and fuel. Anything that cannot be bought at the local shop must be ordered by mail from Anchorage, which does not come around very often in winter. Like in many other Alaska Native settlements, the import and sale of alcohol is prohibited. Electricity is provided by diesel generators, and water for winter use is taken from a mountain spring, then treated and stored in a tank. Due to the permafrost, laying pipes underground is difficult, so residents must carry water by themselves. Despite the high food prices, the Eskimos are used to the cash for food idea of not relying as much on hunting and gathering. Some people harvest eggs from the guaira, a seabird common in the northern hemisphere. They hunt walruses and make souvenirs that are very popular on the Alaskan mainland. The average family income on the island is around $25,000 a year, which is not much because of the high prices and reliance on purchased food. For example, a pack of laundry detergent costs $4 to $5. In short, we would say that life on the island is not only difficult, but also expensive. Climate change is adding new challenges for Eskimos. With every year, it is getting warmer, thus affecting their traditional lifestyle. Islanders, especially the youth, are slowly thinking about moving away, but despite this, travelers note that the locals seem happier than many big city residents. That's all for today, guys. Would you like to visit this magnificent place? Leave a comment under the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.